All right, so my topic is the conspiracy of eugenics in American society. Conspiracy is in quotation marks for a reason, and we'll get there. So what is eugenics? Eugenics is an applied science of a movement which advocates practices to improve the genetic composition of a population. Pretty much that's population manipulation based on genetics. What are some examples of eugenics? And this is relatable in society today. Genetic screening, birth control, marriage restrictions, that's racial segregation, segregating the mentally ill from the rest of the population, compulsory sterilization, forced abortion, forced pregnancy, and genocide. Eugenics in American society. This pseudoscience is often synonymous with Hitler. Has anybody heard of eugenics before? Just by raising hands. Wonderful. Normally when people hear of eugenics, they relate that to Hitler because he's widely known for his experiments that he did in concentration camps. Mind you, in concentration camps, they weren't just Jews, they were colored folk. Okay, so also leaders of the progressive era, which is in the 1890s to the 1920s, which was a major era for the American government. That's where we started to build our foundations, Constitution, Bill of Rights, so on and so forth. But the leaders of the Reform era were strong supporters of eugenics, and that's something that we need to keep in mind. John D. Rockefeller. This is a name that a lot of us have heard before, and if you haven't, you need to get familiar with the name, even if you only know a little bit about it. After this, you're probably going to want to do some research. So his name is synonymous with eugenics as well. He's widely known for funding Hitler's eugenics projects. His mark is still very evident in American politics and foreign society. If you educate yourself about this man, you're going to understand politics a lot better, and our foreign policy. You're going to understand why we have a greater presence in certain areas of the world as opposed to other areas of the world. Look up the Seven Sisters oil cartel. It has something to do with this, but we're not going to talk about that. The founder, he's the founder of Exxon, which was formerly known as the New Jersey Standard Oil Company, that is part of the Seven Sisters oil cartel. And he's also the founder of the Rockefeller Foundation, which is a philanthropic organization, philanthropic as in humanitarian, as in they help people. They're a prime sponsor for various United Nations programs. Now, this is why I got into eugenics, because the area that I'm going into is nutrition, but in developing nations, because I was reading an article one day about the UN World Food Program, and it was about an experiment they were doing in Uganda. And they were feeding them something called Unimix. And I'm like, okay, what's Unimix? I look up Unimix, 5 ingredients. The top 2 ingredients are corn, soybean oil, and they enrich it with vitamins. But me knowing what I know, those are inflammatory ingredients, meaning that it promotes disease within the body. Why are you feeding a nation that is malnourished and weak something that's going to promote disease within their bodies? That's something to keep in mind. So you have this philanthropic organization who's funding the United Nations, all their projects around the world, but they're rooted in eugenics. They're rooted in the idea of genocide and manipulating the population based on genetics. Victims of eugenics. According to PBS, the word eugenics is rooted from the Greek words for good and origin. Now, there's no secret that Eurocentrism and white supremacy is, there's no reverse racism going on here. I'm just, stating a fact, and I'll give you examples, that Eurocentrism and white supremacy is a reality in all of our cultures. Where I'm from, I was told to stay out of the sun, because you're gonna get dark. From St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I have Indian roots and African roots. And in the islands, you tend to be segregated. Countries like Guyana or countries in the West Indies, you tend to favor the people with the Eurocentric qualities, lighter skin, lighter eyes, the straight hair. So even though in my island I mix, I'm considered Indian because I have straighter hair than everybody. So they kind of put you more on a pedestal because, oh, she's Indian, she has straight hair. She's brown-skinned. So what I'm saying pretty much in a nutshell is when we talk about good origin and the word eugenics, minorities are equated to the lesser. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. And it's evident in our society. So yeah, as you can see here, I said that being said, who can imply that the superior race, who is the superior race of this genetic and population manipulation? Okay, so this is a map of New York City. This is a map of obesity in New York City. Look at the black areas, which you see. Okay, so this is Southeast Queens. That's the South Bronx. That's Harlem. This is certain areas of Brooklyn. But then look at areas like Manhattan, Chelsea, Upper West Side. Look at the more economically flourishing areas of Queens. These are the areas that have high subsidized housing. Keep in mind that who is the majority populating subsidized housing? Minorities. That's something that we want to keep in mind. But is this conspiracy, or is this just a weird flow of events? This is something that I want you to think about. Also, look at Planned Parenting, because I also said that birth control and abortion and so on and so forth are parts of eugenics. If you look at Planned Parenthood, it's the largest abortion provider in America. 78% of their clinics are in minority communities. Black make up 12% of the population, but 35% of the abortions in America, that's 35% of the abortions in America are being targeted. Is that genocide? Now, I don't want to sit here and say that, oh, the white man's out to get us and all that bullshit, because, sorry. I don't want to say that everybody's out to get us because, we're brown-skinned or we're minorities. I don't believe that. But do I believe that there is some manipulation in social standpoints and economic standpoints? Like, are we conditioned to be a certain way? Are we conditioned to be the dominant users of subsidized housing and welfare and so on and so forth? Are we conditioned by our media, by our government to be a certain way? Maybe, but as I say about everything, education is knowledge, knowledge is power. And if you know the reality of what's going on in the community, reality of what's going on in your government, the reality of what's going on in the world, then you can be more aware of these things and make an active change. Thank you. And my sources were pbs.org, Hidden Colors, 1 and 2, Great Documentaries, and The Weight of a Nation. Because I could go on about this all day, but...